Isaac Henderson, I'm here. I'll be presenting, leading, emceeing for our team.
Great, great. All right. Well, I'll see if you can get in. You have a presentation you want put up?
Yes,
Yeah. So yeah, well, if you're ready, Phil, you ready for us to start?
I think I am. Yes, I think we'll go forward now. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so just as way as introduction, I'm Isaac Henderson. I'm the development director at Lend-Lease, overseeing the development of One Job. I'm joined by my colleague Hirosato, who's also here on the phone at Lend-Lease. As most of you know, we purchased the property back in October. And I'm also joined today by James Field, Corner Operations, and Marvel Architects, who are the landscape and waterfront designers, as well as the building architect. And we're really here to show you guys and update you guys where we are on our waterfront design and process. We've done a pretty significant amount of community outreach and met with a number of you already, but we're really sort of anxious to sort of get feedback on our design and just sort of talk with you. I did want to state before we got into the presentation, just to update this group. I know a lot of people of the New York City ferry stop at Greenpoint in the neighborhood, which is associated with the site. Just for those who don't know, or just to give you an update on that, around a month ago, the ferry was landing at what we call the floating barge, which is different, obviously, than which is connected to the India Street fixed pier. And when it was docking at around 8:43 that evening, it was discovered that the piles that were holding the floating barge were compromised. And at that time, the barge was then taken out of service. And is currently being looked upon. I just want to sort of say the India Street Pier itself remains open. It's structurally sound. It's not a problem. It's just a floating barge, which was the issue. This barge was built prior to our owning of the property. But we remain absolutely committed to returning the barge as well as the ferry service there. We view it as a huge amenity resource for the community, as well as for our site degree, but also, as much as we're committed to return it, we also want to make sure that we return it so it's safe. And then also, we also want it to be a sustainable solution. So since it's been taken out of commission, we've been working collaboratively with our partners at EDC in the city of New York, as well as the ferry operator Hornblower, to work with them to navigate this process. So that's sort of step number one. Step number two, we are working and engaged heavily with our engineers to sort of come up with a design solution, which, will definitely modify what was there before to ensure that it's, more secure and safe, as well as sort of beginning to navigate, which could be a process to work through the permitting as well, because it will require permits to reinstall the floating barge as well. So we're in the process of sort of navigating that as well. We don't have all the answers today, both on sort of what that final solution is going to be or the time frame. We have an email set up, onejava@lendlease.com, that will be presented to you at the end of the project. Many of you are already on it. We're at least presenting bi-weekly updates. And as we get more understanding of the timing and solution, we'll continue to broadcast and be as transparent as possible. But, we really want to make sure that whatever solution we have is safe, secure, and sustainable. And we're working as hard as we possibly can to bring the ferry service back. I see somebody has their hand raised. I don't know if I should be answering.
Yeah, I'm Steve Chesler. Yeah, I'm glad to hear, considering redesigning that, because sure you're aware this is the second time that there was a problem with the pier. The last time, I guess the ramp fell into the water due to a loose pile or something along those lines. So it's happy to hear that they're considering, I guess, redesigning that, because it appears what this original design is not working, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still, Steve, in the process of really understanding fully what happened, engaging engineers, engaging a metallurgist related to the piles, looking at all those things. But yes, we whatever solution we come up with, we're going to ensure it's going to be different than what was currently there, and it will be, under the consideration to be, safer and more sustainable than it was before.
Should I
So,
share the presentation?
Yeah, so why don't we turn to the presentation?
Yeah. All right. Everybody sees the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Isaac, I'll let you start.
So I think, we're here in front of you guys tonight as part of just sort of an overall community engagement feedback waterfront. We really view, taking the space in front of our building as a significant community benefit, amenity, something that we really wanted to be, that reflects the sort of the desire for the community. Understanding, obviously, there's constraints related, to what DCP, the Department of City Planning has, but since we purchased the property back in October, we've been working with a number of neighborhood organizations, as well as state and federal and local elected leaders. The groups and elected officials engaged are listed here. So we've been, presenting this plan similar to what you're going to see tonight, and soliciting feedback and where possible and applicable, but trying to incorporate many of these ideas into the plan. And we're really here in front of you just to sort of ensure that we're meeting with the right people and engaging that feedback, is casting a larger net as we possibly can. We will then hear some feedback and get some back from you. And then throughout the summer, the application is still being reviewed by the Department of City Planning, but the plan is that they will refer it to the larger community board in September. So that's sort of the process and the timeline. And then Karen's going to go through where we are today, but that's sort of our community engagement today, and this is an important part of that engagement process. So Karen, you want to sort of go through what we've been doing so far?
I'll take it over. Yeah, I'm Karen Tamir. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Karen.
I see a lot of familiar faces and names. So hi, everyone. As Isaac mentioned, we started to meet with community groups at first to really listen. The first few meetings didn't really have any proposal in front of them. It was more to tease out what really is important to the community, to the groups, to this area. So what we heard in a kind of a broad brush, this is a summary of things, is that the waterfront should feel public and inclusive. It should attract diverse demographic, and there should be something for everyone. The streets, the India Street, Java Street, West Street, should all feel pedestrian and bike friendly. Importantly, the connection to the waterfront from the neighborhood should be easy and accessible. There's a preference to see a neighborhood park, one that is lower key, as opposed to a destination park that draws large amount of people from outside. Connection and access to the water is critically important and was noted in all the meetings that it's an important component. Generally, the park, there's a preference for softer, curvy, linear, softer geometries, immersive in nature, narrower paths, intimate spaces, denser planting, shade, and use of native species. The water's edge include get downs, soft edges, where possible, no bulkheads, and minimize guardrails. Avoid hardscape and hard edges. We have some conversation about concession. And for the most part, we heard that something small and seasonal, like an ice cream cart, might be appropriate for the waterfront. And within the building, there's concession that, or cafes and things like that, that would also support the waterfront. Lighting, keep low levels, intimate, cognizant of wildlife and dark skies. Pier upgrades, their discussion about shelters from the rain, wind, sun, and generally maintenance is preferred to be from the developer to continue to develop this area. Later on, we also heard, over the course of the meeting, that the riprap might prevent close contact with the water. So we were asked about that. There again, the soft line, curvilinear community boat or kayak launch was brought up. And then again, the preference that the maintenance is handled by the owner. and then a desire for waterfront programming for the community. Some of the valued programs that were brought up were balance active and passive recreation, education was brought by almost all the groups, environmental, historical, local women, aquatics, ecology, and all of that. Water dependent program. We also talked about the dog run, community space, and spaces that accommodate seniors. And we can talk through these. Even though my slides are not advancing, I'm sorry. Here we go. So bringing to you, some of you have seen this deck or most of it already, but wanted to bring this slide again just to show where One Java is. It's kind of situated amongst many waterfront lots, and it's really important to us that we are connected. We're connected back to the neighborhood, we're connected to the water, but also north and south to lots that coming online and having a public access area. And that's a slow process, but it's coming, and we really want to be part of that, and the continuation of our little tooth is important. We also are cognizant of the guidelines that were put together a while back. The thought that the waterfront should be more of a meander. There should be furnishing next to the water, not just a kind of a runway esplanade, if you will, and that where possible also incorporate planting near the water. So all these things we looked at. Our site is this. As you see, it's bounded by India Street, Java Street, West Street to the east, and then the water to the west. It's inclusive of India Street Pier, but really the waterfront public access area that is in front of city planning is one, the pier as it is, but also this area that you see here, the 11,520 square feet. In addition to that area, Lend-Lease is providing additional open space, which is in yellow here. So it's kind of almost doubling that area, that upland area that's noted as a WPAA here. Some of the context, I know you all know the site, but the upper left is Java Street, a kind of a cobblestone, a lower lying street, India Street. Below that is a new street. There's the development to our north that's raised the street a little bit in the sidewalk, to the extent they could. To the right is the waterfront today, the kind of the edge broken riprap and concrete and you know, and kind of debris. And on the bottom is the pier. Some of the site constraints are the site conditions, the latent condition, windy, having salt spray, the water's edge, keep eroding it. Existing streets are low lying as it relates to, you know, elevations of the resiliency. The scale of the site is somewhat tight. Additionally, the East River has strong current, it's choppy. And there are the ferry wakes, and that's sort of a constraint that relates a little bit to the boating conversation. Flood elevation and projected sea level rise are another constraint that's on the forefront of our minds as we develop these sites. And then the DCP zoning requirement, of course, is another layer of requirements that we have to be, you know, mindful of. In terms of programming, so this slide talks to the passive programming that we're kind of looking at here. So one, soft edges, edges that can be inundated periodically, and then a transitional kind of softscape that climbs upland with native planting. We are proposing a lawn, a kind of a flexible lawn here for picnicking or what have you. Various furnishing for socialization that allow people to come together in various ways and comfort levels. So looking at picnic tables, looking at lounges, benches, and so on. We are thinking about a cafe in the building of some sort of a food and beverage that would also, you know, face itself onto the waterfront and participate in that kind of the park's life in a way. Having lounge area, get down, also looking at some ecological education with small tidal pools. Active programming, so again, the lawn could be for fitness classes, yoga, tai chi, and all these things that people want to, you know, facilitate and be part of. small markets and performances. We also see them in the waterfront, but they could spill over on these street ends of Java and India, given that they are kind of dead ends and could be utilized on weekends and so on. Places for community meetings and community parties, movie nights, family dances, and also workshops that could spill again outside, be it boating, biking, or something like that, that really kind of support activities, local activities. The design is inspired by Greenpoint, the history of boat shipbuilding, long history. So we're kind of taking the element of the slip. I mean, obviously our site is small. These piers are huge, but the slip is a kind of an idea, is something that intrigued us. It's always fascinating getting onto the edge of the slip, right? And kind of being immersed in this waterfront. So we took that and also oriented these slips with views to the water, various directions, and kind of capitalizing on that. And of course, you have the views from the pier that is really a 360, also back to the neighborhood. So the site plan evolved, and it's this, and some of you have seen it. I'll start from the top where it says WPA area. So this is a path that would be seamlessly connected to the neighborhood, to the neighbor to the north of us. So the Esplanade continues. We are raising the site a little bit, somewhere between 2.5 feet from the streets. That's for resiliency measure. So there will be a kind of a gentle slope coming up, if you see my cursor, where one could continue to the pier or can continue to meander along the waterfront. Along the waterfront, we have another intersecting slip, which will kind of at the end of it, at the terminus, it drops down and becomes immersive in this kind of garden, riparian garden area. The bottommost is a riparian garden intermingled with boulders and so on, and on top of it is a kind of a transitional, more upland garden. Moving on south, we have a few other slips. Each of them terminates slightly differently. And we have the Stony Get Down right south of that, what we call the prow. Stony Get Down will take you down to the water. And south of that, we have a smaller area that is actually a platform where we are cutting a kind of a window to the water below. And that's where we like to put those tidal pools so people can see how they evolve over time, and hopefully life emerges and thrives. And then, south of that, we have what we call the social alcove, kind of a social seating area. As well, next to the pier reveal, there's also a kind of a countertop with movable stools that one can sit on and enjoy the sunset, coffee, or whatnot. And you will see a little bit more of it in the view. Turning onto Java Street here, we have seating steps which face south, with the idea that that too could become a space. So the terminus of Java could become a space that is used also. And like that idea. So also a nod to that. And then incorporating porch swings, these kind of wide 4 or 5 person swing. It doesn't swing very much, but it swings enough to kind of give you a feel of being on a porch. And then the area that looks like a kind of a bosque with plaza, that's what we call that the river perch, with the idea that that will be part lounge. There will be a kind of an overlook countertop, again with these bar stool-like furnishing, sitting steps that bring us a little bit higher because we have to bring this area a bit higher to meet the building. Picnic tables, trees, and so on. And we can come back to that. Softscape wise, so we have the riparian landscape near the river, again allowed to be inundated in part, and as we go up, transitional plantings and the upland planting. The idea is that the landscape, the softscape, feels, as you could see in the images, a little bit tougher, a little bit more wild, not manicured, which we like. So really, aside from the lawn, everything will feel tougher and native, and attract pollinators and things like that. We really want to have a gritty texture to the landscape. Connection to the river, so continuing to encourage people to fish from the pier, use the pier. The river landing will be a kind of, it's not a full get down, but is a kind of a landing that's perched down below the path a little bit. We have the stony get down that brings people down to the water, and then the pier reveal, which can be observed from the top with the tidal pools. In a series of views, so this is coming in from Java, seeing the social alcove to the left, with that pier reveal, with a counter and stools around, and the lawn beyond. Moving a little bit north, we have the get down here. The rip up might be a little bit out of scale, but this is just a visualization of it. But the idea is that people can reach down. The riprap also will be used as a kind of like a curb, if you will, just to kind of stop people from moving too far down. And you could see the lawn again with various benches and sitting beyond. This is the river landing, immersed in the kind of the riparian garden. The view from the pier, looking back at the site. So here we see the perch all the way in the back with the picnic tables, the bosque of trees. The intent is to use boulders in the upland as well. So kind of bring that materiality that we have on the edge upland a little bit as kind of natural places to sit and to play on, as well as using some driftwood, a little bit larger scale driftwood, also similar, kind of bringing that materiality of the river into the landscape. In a bird's eye view of the site, with Java on the right, India on the left, kind of seeing the full site of it. And I'll let Isaac close with the slide. Isaac?
Sorry, let me unmute myself.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Just, I think that was a good presentation. We're looking forward to your project and your comments. But, just overall, Java, we really view this as sort of a important community project that provides a number of benefits. First and foremost, obviously, the waterfront itself. And it's sort of just providing what is sort of, inaccessible space along the waterfront, as well as sort of connecting the waterfront to its pier. Additional benefits, obviously, the building, while we're still in the process of designing and working through it, it will have a significant amount of affordable housing. We're going to take an underutilized warehouse space that's vacant right now and really activated what we hope will be sort of exciting, sort of neighborhood enhancing retail uses, as well as potential food and beverage concepts that sort of work and create an amenity for the neighborhood. You're also looking at ways to work with sort of local and community educational groups around the waterfront, and ways to engage sort of educational opportunities not only on the pier but also the waterfront itself. So we're really excited about this project, and we're really excited to bring some new exciting space to the waterfront, as well as it being a really long-term stakeholder in the Greenpoint neighborhood. So with that, I think we just turn it over to questions and open up for you guys.
Yeah, there is a question here for Vinny. Let me go to the slide that.
Clear the screen. I'd like to start off with questions from the committee, and then we'll move into questions from the community. Okay.
I have a question. This is Trina. Where is the restaurant in relation to the plan, and where does the restaurant kind of relate to the plaza?
Well, I may bring it up. So we're looking at the possibility, the restaurants would be sort of the edge of our residential building. It wouldn't be into the green space. The cells were potentially, looking to sort of put something that would be, adjacent to the India Street and sort of capture traffic coming off the pier. So we're sort of looking sort of that sort of corner there, as well as potentially, over on Java Street as well, on the edge of Java Street in our building, in addition to that.
Would there be outdoor seating that's part of the restaurant, or would the outdoor seating be part of the park?
Both. We haven't really we don't have an operator, so we don't, we think there would be benefits to having some outdoor seating, but, most of it would be sort of contained either within sort of the restaurant, but there may be opportunities for the sort of eating and outdoor space as well, on the, on the edge of the park as well.
Also,
Yeah.
I jumped in with my question. I want to say how great it looks too. I mean, it's pretty
Thank
amazing what
you.
you've been able to put in this small area.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, thanks a lot for the presentation. Actually, I saw it once before, but it's good to see it again. And yeah, I agree with Trina. It's a really just looks like it'll be very interesting, engaging space, just with a very, soft shoreline and topography. So yeah, really, really good. Yeah, just one quick question, just verify, is Lend Lease going to be responsible for maintaining the space or Parks Department?
Yeah, so it's a privately owned space. So we and our management company were responsible for maintaining not only the waterfront space, but also the pier itself.
Okay. And then I was just trying to understand how people flow into the space from the street, either from India or Java. Is it just hitting those, I guess, those walkways, or like I'm looking at India Street where beyond those 3 trees that are,
Yeah.
can you access the space there or
So,
just, yeah?
yeah, absolutely. So if you come from the sidewalk, that white space there is actually just a continuation of the sidewalk. It should have been gray. And you can come straight on this. There will be a slope here. This is a little area that slopes up, again, because we're raising the waterfront a little bit. One can also access, if there is a cafe here, come through those stairs and come straight to the cafe. Or any of the amenities on the perch, so to speak. One could also, of course, continue to the pier. And if somebody is biking along the waterfront, they can come through, this path here and continue on the waterfront, or just strolling about. So that's on India. On Java, not shown here, but we will have also a set of stairs we're working on now to come into this what we call the landing area here. And then there will be a ramp that takes you up to the waterfront here as well, on the very southern edge of the waterfront. So connecting kind of seamlessly to the same grade as Java. We're not really raising the street. We may, if we can, we'll bring it up as much as we can, but it's very minimal. The lot to the south is not doing anything, so we can't impact them with the drainage.
Yeah, it's a shame that we'll have the connection into Transmitter Park, that would
Yeah,
be ideal,
Yeah.
Yeah, and just one thing, I think I brought this up the previous time, but on the industry pier, the possibility of replacing the cyclone fence with waterfront master plan compliant railing.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we'll continue to have dialogue. It's not in our current plans, but we've heard that comment, and it's something that we'll continue to have dialogue about.
Okay,
I actually have another question, which I'm,
Trina, when Katie has her hand up.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay.
Go ahead, let her go. We can keep talking. Go ahead, Katie.
Thanks, Trina. Thanks, Phil. I have a couple questions, and I too have seen this before. So thank you for bringing it here again. And also, Isaac, I want to thank you too, because since we last spoke, they helped clean up West Street, which had become a crazy dumping ground in recent weeks. So I appreciate that help. A couple of things. I had also mentioned, and I was curious if you had followed up. I'm glad Jen Peterson's on the call. I had suggested getting in touch with the women's group about activating this with memorialization and programming, which is a years long initiative that the several community members have been searching for a site to be able to honor historical women figures. And so I was curious if you all had a chance to discuss it with that group. A couple other questions I have, which are sort of outside Parks purview, but it's related, and that's accessibility, in that I live on West in India, so I know this block very well. And I find it very problematic that there are no crosswalks, given that this is a major public transportation route. So, if you cross West Street, there are no crosswalks to get to either this park or the park in front of the Greenpoint. So I'm sure that's something that you're looking at, but I think that that's really important for safety. And I'm also very glad, I think it was Steve who said that, I'll just echo his about, the potential of redesigning the pier because as this is such you all have done a lot with a little, but it is a small amount of acreage for the building, and so being able to potentially move out and capture the pier as would be amazing. So thank you. I think that's all the questions I have right now.
So, I mean, thanks, Katie. Nice to see you again. I am planning on, the women's group of the memorialization. I haven't followed up with that group yet, but I am planning on doing. We think it's a great idea, and would love to continue that conversation and engagement. Feel free to. I've been wanting to do that. It's just on my to-do list, and I haven't done it, but it's definitely on there. And I think there is opportunities that could be done in this space here. So I think it's a great suggestion. And we can continue to have that dialogue, and we'll also continue to keep an eye on that adjacent property owner there and making sure that trash can be taken. Obviously the accessibility and the crosswalks, unfortunately, something that, will be aligned with you on, pedestrian safety, traffic. We really view this as a pedestrian oriented neighborhood, as many of our residents. So, we can continue as part of our process, having conversations with DOT. I believe from a permitting and sort of a crosswalk, aspect is really DOT is the one that has to do it, not us. So I can't just make it happen, but I definitely will be aligned with you in having that conversation. So I think it's a good suggestion. And I think, Hero and I can sort of, if in our conversation, see if that's a possibility. And I think, more density and more people there and more pedestrians sort of will, encourage them to do that even more so. So hopefully One Java can be part of that solution. We're looking, as I mentioned, Steve, like looking at ways to improve the pier. We think is a significant amenity to the project. So, we're looking to, just to activate and improve it, whether that's through bringing more ways to bring educational groups engaged with the water from the pier to just actual safety and overall maintenance of it itself. We own and we're going to be maintaining it, so it's a front door to our project. So I think we agree with you that it's a real opportunity sort of to improve and develop additional sort of open space for the neighborhood as well as our community.
Trina, go ahead. You had another question you said.
My question has to do with accessibility and accessibility to the pier during the time, because presumably the problem is going to get fixed and the ferry is going to continue to stop there. How do you plan to keep the route to the ferry open while you're building?
We don't anticipate and besides this issue, once the ferry's back up and running, we don't anticipate any interruptions. We're developing, fencing and site safety plans and construction sheds that will ensure that people can access the pier and ultimately the new floating barge safely and protected. So we don't anticipate any shutdowns. We already have a plan when we're doing demo that would allow us to do that. It's going to be a combination of construction fencing, sidewalk bridges, and flaggers to ensure that the floating barge and the ferry are accessible and operational throughout the whole entire project.
Yeah, that road turned into a real pit during when the building next door was built. It was really like a war zone getting to the ferry. And so just it'd be great if you could make sure that the access to the ferry along the road as well as to the pier remains open and clean and safe. Of course you can do that.
We'll definitely do
say it again because it didn't feel safe with your neighbor.
Yeah. We'll definitely try our best to do that. And, again, we'll also make sure that everybody has the One Job at lendlease.com. So if you have specific concerns throughout the construction, we try to take people's feedback and safety concerns and do as much as we can throughout the process.
Yeah, I remember the workers at the Greenpoint used to park at the dead end of India Street and fill that up and make it tough to get through. So that's, it's something that could be kept in mind when you get to
And
that phase.
they put their construction trailer right at the end of India Street that kind of blocked the river. I mean, it was just like this. It wasn't nice.
Okay. That's great feedback. Thank you.
I have
I
a,
don't see any, you go ahead, Zante, because I don't see anybody else's hands, so please go ahead.
okay, thank you, Phil. Well, I believe my fellow member said a lot of things. I'm online, so I don't know if I want to make more question. I understand that clearly a lot of the icon, they indicate things that exist somewhere else. So probably we're gonna need to see more detailed design about bench, table, and so many other things, and probably we'll have more opportunity to comment this concept. One thing I overheard is about restaurant, and I want to have clarification what kind of activity and where that is going to be in regard to this waterfront little park, which it still is never going to be sufficient. We lacking open space, so it's great that we're going to have this one. And Trina, as mentioned before, last night we're until midnight to an SLA committee meeting, not because we're a member of the committee, but because we're a member of this community, and the Greenpoint Coalition has been doing a lot of work trying to contain the number of the license. And so I want to understand what kind of activity you envision there, because I will fear that I love not to have a restaurant or a bar prevail and impact this park, which is very valuable. We have so many licenses right now. We have lost entirely business diversity in Greenpoint, on Franklin Corridor, on Greenpoint Avenue. Practically 95% of the retail storefront right now, some are dying. They all been substituted during COVID. The one that couldn't continue to exist by bar and restaurant. So this is very critical for this community. I believe even for you, you're going to develop. You'll want to make sure they will continue to have a diverse retail environment. It will be not interesting for a lively community to live in just an entertainment environment. So I fear, if you can explain me more, what kind of a restaurant, a bar, is a cafeteria, will be a shame if they will become a destination place, and the benefit of this community park will be taken away by inviting people for the restaurant, for the bar, for a venue, whatever that is.
Yeah, thank you. I think, first off, we're obviously, it's a residential building above in front of the space. So, I mean, I think as far as sort of nighttime, the type of uses that go there, it really needs to be, focused on neighborhood focused and sort of consistent with that. So, we don't envision, we haven't selected any operators at all, right? So, I mean, I think, we do think there's a potential for people that are going back and forth commuting on India Street that may want some sort of cafe, coffee place, food space there along the waterfront. But again, I think, we envision it more as sort of a place of work that's sort of neighborhood focused, neighborhood serving. We haven't worked out all the details yet, but I think from a noise and nuisance, that's obviously not consistent with our residential building or our neighbors or our commitment to Greenpoint. But we do think, there could be sort of, uses there along the waterfront that would enhance the experience for people that are going to the waterfront and using it. And that's the sort of type of users that we're going to probably target along there.
What's the capacity, or what's the size in square footage? What would be the capacity of this space?
I think we haven't worked out all those details yet.
You don't know the square footage of the restaurant space?
Yeah, we're going back and forth. We're still working on the program, and the waterfront's further ahead of the space there, so we don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I mean, I believe this will be at least for the Greenpoint community a very important element. It'd be nice to know at a certain point because it will determine also the destiny and the impact on this valuable green space that you are going to
Yeah,
create.
we think, we value, we really view the green space as something that serves the community, right? We wouldn't want to bring in uses that would deter from that.
And also, so there are practically, we counted yesterday about 25 licenses within 500 foot. This is the ratio right now, and New York State Legal Authority says there is a 500 foot rule, so no more than 3 licenses within the 500 foot. So just be aware, this, it's a trigger element, and is also an element of a lot of community opposition. That's all, but we'll discover later on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I see your hand, Kevin. I just want to see if there's any more board members who have any questions?
Yeah, Phil, I have one more quick question.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve,
Just
then
wondering, when you're coming back to the board in September, are you seeking waivers for the waterfront space zoning rules? Or?
Yes, there will be, well, as of now, it's in progress, but as of now, we have 3 waivers. One is for a screening buffer. There is a requirement to have a dense screen between the WPA area in a private zone. So if you see my cursor, this planter has to be very densely planted with evergreens and species that are taller than 4 feet. We're seeking waiver from that, so we could have views and a little bit more transparency through this planted area. So that's one waiver. The other waiver, there is a requirement that any concrete area will not be bigger than 2 by 2. So granted, we don't know what material or exactly we're using and how, but we are seeking that because we want to give flexibility to how it evolves. And thirdly, there is a waiver for maintaining the existing guardrail in the pier, which and not replacing it with new the sea rail that's required. That's what we have at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Phil, could I make a suggestion? That when these waiver requests have come through in the past, they've gone through the land use committee solely.
Right.
Potentially have a joint committee meeting with land use and parks. So because it's involving the space design as well as zoning rules.
Right, but they have to go to land use for that, right?
Right. Inevitably, the land use committee but I thought maybe we could inform their decision since this is also involving design to a degree. But,
yeah, definitely,
yeah.
Steve. When I know they're coming, we could ask to just be part of that meeting. We'll have a joint meeting with them, so because it affects us.
Right.
Good idea.
Could I just ask for clarification? Is it 40 feet, the red box? Is that 40 feet across? And so the part above where the trees are, that's extra that you're giving the community that's beyond what's required?
The WPA area is actually 60 feet. There's 40 feet for the shore public walkway, and then additional 20 feet for what is called supplemental public access area. So it's 60. We are also not shown here, we didn't designate it for this meeting, but there is a 10-foot PAA strip, which is public access area that has no zoning, mandates.
Your other slide above shows the colored one up. Maybe I don't know what this slide is. Numbers.
It doesn't show the dimensions, but so this is the green is 60, and then there's the yellow at the very narrowest area is 10. Yeah.
And is that mandated, or is that where it says additional? Is that something you're
That's not mandated.
extra?
That's extra. That's yeah.
So it's beyond.
It's beyond.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin. You've been waiting patiently. Go ahead.
Thank you. That was one of my questions too, Trina. So thank you. I guess I had a couple questions. One is how much is it being? You said it was being raised. How high is it being raised? Do you have like a topographic map or anything?
I don't have the grading here. We can certainly bring it next time or circulate it. The sidewalk is at about 7.4, I want to say, at the corner, the east corner of the WPA area. We're climbing as we come up. It's at about 8.8 to 9. So you're looking at 1.5 feet actually at the beginning. Similarly at Java, except the Java is a little lower. We're starting from 6.4 to climbing to 8.4. Where it comes a little higher is at the very middle here, where we have another access on the perch, which is another inclined slope, bringing the perch a little bit higher because we want to mediate the elevation with the building uses. So, so the perch is at 12 at the highest point.
Okay. And is the back of it is like, basically, does that mean that like is the whole back of it at 12 or just the center of it is it 12?
So the building where you see doors and all that, it's 12. At the footing here of this kind of what I call the PAA, sort of a landing here, this is a 10. So we are climbing 2 more feet up on the perch. Again, it's resiliency, but it's also because of building codes, we have to be higher. So, you know.
Okay. Do you have the total square footage of the new public space that's being developed here, both the one that you're required to give and the additional, what the total, not counting the pier, but what is the developed public space? What's the total square footage?
The WPAA area is about 11,500. And then I don't have offhand this area, the additional area. No.
Okay. So I guess you don't know the total.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think we know the public space, but it's probably, yeah, we can get that information.
Yeah.
Okay. That was just kind of the nuts and bolts. I was wondering with the concrete and the pathways themselves, because there is so much of it, and I like it. You know, it's nice. And I appreciate the kind of connection back to the old dock slips. But one of my concerns is about materials, because there is a bit of concrete up top and the paths themselves. Are you thinking about porous pavers? You know, I just think about, you know, how much that area around Industry Pier was flooding, and we talked about that. You know, and the water that we're expecting in this space as time goes on. And I didn't see that much about stormwater retention or rain retention, porous pavers, or any types of other material conversation, which I think is really, really important here.
Yeah, we're not there. Definitely not on the paver material. We do know that we want the slips to feel like they are kind of recognizable as slips, you know, in their vocabulary. But we're not there yet on yeah, so maybe next time we just don't have it yet.
You mean you have not had a conversation about materials?
Correct, except I mean the furnishing we did, and the furnishing as they are now, they are wood slats with steel support, galvanized steel or painted steel, could be D. You know, the paving is not something that's, you know, city planning really mandates, except for that one regulation. So we have not yet delved into it. So that's very
Can I tap into this, please?
sure.
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, we have a 2005 Waterfront Master Plan, and that's actually mandates what kind of paver. There is all vocabulary. We spoke about that in the past, from railing to the asphalt pavers, and so we do have a vocabulary. As a matter of fact, you know, looking at the design, which personally I mentioned before, I see images about things that were happening somewhere else in the icon, but I understood this was a concept. And I mentioned before that I was hoping at a certain point we're entering into the detail, but I consider paramount the idea that we have a master plan from lighting, from railing. The goal should be that the entire waterfront at a certain point, when fully connected, should be harmoniously represented by a design language which is consistent to that master plan that the community work out for, you know, for a long time.
Yeah. Understood. I just want to add that the C rail around the platform will be the the required sea rail that you have everywhere, as well as the lighting. There'll be the Flushing Meadow lighting that's on the pier and everywhere else. So some continuity definitely is there. It's really the paving we have not worked out yet. We will look at the guidelines and see what you had. I don't recall off the top what was
No,
paving.
I can confirm the paving out asphalt paving. Transmitter Park is actually a very good example. We have some, I believe, but there is definitely very clearly described in the 2005 master plan. You know very well the asphalt octagonal pavers.
The hex paver.
Yeah, the X paver. They are on the darker gray, but they're illustrated there. But so that's definitely will ease the path, I'm assuming, and is something we've been advocating for many years. We spoke extensively, me and other activists, in many waterfront design meeting. Thank you.
Hey, sorry, Phil. I don't mind that Sante interrupted me because he was agreeing with me. But if I could, I had two more short things here, and I just didn't get a response from them on it. But I think the porous pavers are really, really important, and especially in a space where obviously it is compromised with the amount of green space, the amount of concrete that we have to have. To have that there, I think is really vital. And I just, if there was a letter of support or a vote, that's happening here on this, that if it could include that ask of the developers in recognition that this is an area that, is deeply vulnerable to climate emergency. So that's just something that, if that's possible to add in a letter or vote here, I think it would be good, and also keeping with the 2005 plan.
Is there a porous paver in the plan, the master plan? Sorry. Was there a porous paver?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. I'll take a look.
But I guess, and is there any, because I guess connected right to that, is there any, in terms of some of these spaces that are green, is there any thought to, rainwater, stormwater retention, bioswales, or other sorts of, especially along the street ends? Any thought towards that?
So at the moment, there's no swales right now. We have the riparian garden. We have those gardens that are closer to the water, and those will be low. So water can go towards them. I would say that we definitely will direct, say, runoff from, say, that that pathway into planters and so on. But we don't have our drainage plan per se yet.
Do you know when you might have that?
I think in the fall for sure. That's our next. Our next thing will be to get more technical on all aspects here. Sure.
Yeah, I similarly to the pavers, I think it's just really important for these parks to be building that in, and not as an after the fact sort of thing. And I just think that, obviously you guys are here now, that if that can be kept in mind for any plan that you're bringing back here in the fall.
Yeah.
I had one more question, and thank you. Just the benches themselves. This is like a question that we've been asking. We asked about the ferry down in South Williamsburg this question. The benches themselves, is there a plan to put or include kind of anti-homeless architecture on the benches, the separators, or will it just be kind of flat bottom, the flat bottom benches? Is that something? I know you said you had made plans for the furnishings. Do those include separators that would stop someone from, inclining? People criticize this sort of stuff in the MTA, anti-homeless architecture.
We don't have that. There are armrests and of course companion seatings and all that, but we don't have anything that divides or make it impossible to lay on them at the moment. It's not something that we can't look at. So that's that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. That's it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, there were a couple comments in the chat.
Go ahead, Steve.
One of them,
Oh.
Vinny from Piccolo from Parks asked if we could see one of the slides at the beginning that showed the parcel map.
Yep.
Just to see, you got that, Vin?
Gotcha. I meant the other one just with the different properties next to it labeled, just so I could see. It had like all the little tags of like where it fit in. Yeah.
Yep.
Number
Right.
4.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And then Maureen asked about the cat colony. It's still active? If it is, will it be relocated?
I think we had this conversation early in the discussion, and we were put in contact with somebody who believed we understood, and we were told through those conversations that it wasn't active right now. But I'm happy to get in contact with anybody related to the cat colony if that's information is different than what I've been told.
Anything else, Stephen?
I don't see that. Well, Kevin's asking, there's a way, how can we follow up to get the total square footage of the total?
Well, Kevin had brought up a point about, I don't think we can really take a motion on this because it's not a completed project right now.
And
Right.
we're really just here. I mean, we're here just to sort of update you guys.
Right.
It's not really,
Right.
it's really something that we're coming for support, and it's just sort of part of our community outreach. So that wasn't really sort of the intent. I mean, I think the DCP will formally refer it to its application to the larger community board in September
Right.
for, referral. That's sort of the process, but.
Yeah, this
Steve,
is
what do you
to,
think, Steve?
And I think the total square footage that I understand, we should double check, is around 18,000 total.
Okay. What, so Steve,
Hero, it's texted that to me. Hero's managing it. I think he had measured that. That doesn't include the pier, right, Hero?
Right, excluding the pier. So it's 11,500 for the WPAA, just under 14,000 for the pier, and then the additional open space is about 6,000 square feet.
so getting back to what I said, what does the committee want to do? Do you want to make any motions on this right now, or do you want to hold off?
Yeah, I think because, there, as mentioned, the design isn't 100% complete. I
Right.
think
That's the way I feel, Steve.
Yeah.
I feel, and we could, you said already, we're gonna come back to it when they go to land use and all, so we'll get a better feel of what it looks like, and maybe we could take our final vote at that time. How's that sound?
Yeah.
But I think the things that were brought up at this meeting are things that we expect to see or expect to be
Right,
addressed in
exactly.
some way when you bring it back.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
with that, I think we'll hold off. We'll thank them. Great presentation. Thank you very much.
thank you.
We'll be coming back to this in the fall. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope your
Thank you.
designs spread up the waterfront. So.
Yeah.
So we
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time looking at the design and giving us the comments, and your experience along the waterfront is great. So thank you very
Yeah.
much.
That's what it's
Thank
about.
you too for that slide where with all the community feedback. That's something we should give to people
Yeah.
because you really did hear the community and
Shows a lot.
the great summary of what we've been asking for up and down the water.
Excellent.
Thanks
Yes,
again,
we can
guys.
share this.
Have a great night. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank
Great. See
you.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Our next presentation, Kenny, are you ready? Where is she?
Yes, I am. Once
Bouncing
that
all
beeping
over-
stops.
Bouncing all over the field on the screen.
Whoever's left wants to hear little old me. I just wanted to let's see. Am I able? I don't know, Phil. Can I share something? I mean my main point is to announce that Under the Cape Ridge Park is open,
Right.
and show some photos and some upcoming programming, which was a little more relevant on on the originally scheduled date, which was a couple days before the opening. But anyway, I at the moment I cannot share my photos.
Right. If you just want to tell us what's going on.
Sure. So you know, I believe all of you have seen the designs over the years. I mean, the design was finalized back in 2019. Thanks, Maureen. And so we finally were able to open the full park to the public. And I say the full park because what we call the arm, which is a pedestrian and cycling pathway that connects the bike lane on the K Bridge down to the abutment where the larger spaces begin. That has been open since last year. And it has been in use for runners and cyclists and everything else. Certainly more increased traffic now that we're open, 7 days a week, dawn to dusk. We had an opening event on June 6th where we had some community partners coming with free art making workshops, some performances. We had a reggae show. And overall about 800 people came, which was great. With Carolyn Maloney and some board members. And so it was a nice way to invite the community in. We also do volunteer opportunities every Sunday. And so we begin by offering a guided tour at 11 o'clock for anyone who's interested in seeing the space or hearing about its history, because it is a very different kind of open space. And then, try to cultivate some interest from the community by coordinating volunteer stewardship events, working with our team there. We're also evolving that to something we're called a garden club. We've had a lot of inquiries from folks who live close to the arm, like around Meeker, who are interested in better understanding the planting plan and maintenance of some of the new plantings planted as part of not only the under the K Bridge Park, but then also just the K Bridge in general. So, you may the gardens along Meeker Avenue, for example. And so, we are starting a garden club on Wednesday evenings that will invite folks to learn about maintaining those gardens. We have a couple of larger events. If you recall from our original visioning and presentations, it is a state space, and it exists on the model, on the financial model that we are able to generate revenue on site, and that is largely from events or partnerships where we're able to raise money to be able to pay to maintain the site. And so, our hope is that, we can activate the space with a lot of community programming. By community, I primarily mean free programming, which is what we have had to date. But we are looking for more commercial activities as well, which maybe could like a concert. We're very seriously considering about opening a roller rink there this summer or fall on the weekends, which we've had really positive feedback from, but that would be a ticketed recreation opportunity. It's a huge space in the skateboarding community. We're having a skateboarding festival next month, as well as a July 4th a music event and fireworks viewing. And all of this will be on nbkparks.org. So I'm sorry I'm not able to share my photos. The reggae show was super fun. And I'm also here just to answer any questions anyone has. Trina, you're muted.
Will July 4th be ticketed?
No, it's free. The first ticketed, what is the first ticketed event we have? Honestly, Trina, most of them are free so far. The reggae program that we did, and just to be candid, we've been able to take advantage of the COVID situation in that as many of you who work in parks know, it's been difficult to get permitting for events or sound permits for amplified sound. So the reggae program has been a major program on Coney Island, but they were unable to get for 10 years, but they were unable to get their permits. And so they sort of, this is a different iteration where it's reggae under the bridge, but yes, it's all free. But they're going to be coming back once a month. They came in June, they'll come in July and in August. We're doing an emerging, again, free, an emerging Brooklyn musician like compilation of various musical genres, which is going to be in early August. We're looking at doing a larger concert Labor Day weekend. We're definitely paying attention to the sound, because we're just starting these, and very few people live very close by to the space. When we did the reggae show, we did not have any noise complaints. Which is great, but that's something we're definitely paying attention to as we continue planning. We're really hoping for it to be used as, a lot of community programming, showcasing a variety of different open air cultural and recreational programs.
Well, the space is amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
You've done
Yeah,
such an
thank you.
amazing job, Katie.
The last thing, I don't want to say complaint, but the major concern, which is something I brought up with the transportation committee, are the streets around the park. In my view, major street calming measures that need to be taken by city DOT in order to help protect the park users and the truck drivers. For those of you who know the area, it's very industrial. But that's something that we are looking at with City DOT and some other partners like Evergreen and Newtown Creek Alliance.
Are there other parks that cross streets like that? Where the park can, McCarran Park does, but really.
I was about to say McCarran until OSA came out Union Avenue.
But are there other where you can see what maybe in other cities have done to do that?
I mean, yes. But this is going to be distinct because it's not just any street. These are heavily industrial used streets that have been in kind of no man's land since they've been operating there for decades, for a generation. And so it's the first time you have people and families and children scooting and walking there. So it's just a big, we have these big electric signs, bring in City DOT down there. But it is a concern that I'd like to change quickly.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. What's up?
Yeah, a couple of questions, Katie. A few things. Do you have an idea how many of these events you are planning or you envision to do a month? Will be a limit? How many will be in a month? One question. And will they happen during only the summertime? I mean, probably I know it's evolving, so it's not fully clear, but just for community additional input, be great probably when that is more clear to you to have a better idea.
So, I mean, we're not so much looking at quantity, but what makes sense at the moment. And at the moment, what makes sense is looking at Sundays, because the industry that's around there, they're open the majority of waking hours, Monday through Saturday. And so until we feel a little bit better about essentially like the public and the businesses working together, it's still very new. We're really focusing on Sundays at the moment. And so that would, if we were to program every Sunday, that would be 4 times a month. The first time we're doing beyond that, I think, is the fall, where we have a light installation festival that is supposed to take place over 3 nights. And, you know, that's not a music show, that's an art show using light as a medium, which we thought would be a good approach to the space artistically. And so, yeah, so in the future, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, but then again, you know, if you're at the roller rink would be more than that, right? So I don't know if you mean just any program, because that would be a recreational feature that, you know, if it would probably be Saturdays and Sundays.
No, I mean, one thought it was because I believe you expressed, I was glad you did the same concern, of which, you know, it was sound. And I remember when Open Space Alliance, and you didn't have a position at the time with organization when there were concerts on Kent, and definitely there is a different density, different population, you know, it became controversial at a certain point, you know, there were community issue, and so that's why. So I don't know exactly any detail there, and definitely on the good things, there is an industrial area, and you just mentioned that, but there is also some residents there. So I was concerned, and I know you're not aware fully, you know, because sounds unfortunately travel, you know, for us living on the other side of Greenpoint when the concerts were on Kent. You know, for the people that were here and the one that were not in the Hamptons or somewhere else, you know, that was definitely, you know, was an issue. I remember, you know, I was personally affected, so I will not be affected
No, for
by
sure. I mean, I wasn't working at OSA, but I was very involved with OSA at the time. Yeah, and I mean, you know, I could hear the concerts from my place, and I'm like, again, on Western India. So, and I know, yeah, and I know the repercussions. And so, I was very pleased at, you know, our reggae show, which was using about, you know, 200 amps. And once we went into the second parcel, you couldn't really hear it. So, so I was happy about that. When you can hear, when you can hear things that are happening, because that's something we were paying attention to. And when I say things, I mean, you guys all know and have heard of like those roving car gangs and things like that. And they're always playing really loud music and you don't know where it's coming from. And, you know, sometimes I was concerned. This is when the park was closed. I was concerned because I would see on Twitter, oh, you know, someone's partying it under the K. So go over there, thinking someone broke in. It's actually happening in Queens, whatever they were doing. But yeah, so I'm very aware that sound travels. But so it's something that we're paying attention to. And I think that, you know, we're lucky that people live far away. And if we are disturbing those people, you know, we'll figure out how to move forward and certainly be in contact with them because many of them have reached out about our garden club. So hopefully they'll be on our team and comfortable just giving us a call and letting us know they have an issue.
Yeah, and also, you know,
Asante, you're on mute.
I forgot. Yeah, no, definitely. You know, you answer already to several points. A genuine concern. You know, I know there are portion of community maybe a little bit more vulnerable. Probably we kind of privileged here. We had the ability to be more verbal. You know, and you know, and make sure, you know, things were changed. So I want to make sure also, you know, that something like that can be under your attention. You know, and make sure that, you know. The more vulnerable portion of community, you know, kind of regarded. That's all.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have our agenda finished. Steve, I think you have something.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. You have a new business item. Ward Dennis is here from Friends of Bushland Park. And
Hi, Ward. How you doing?
Hey, Phil.
Good to
Hey,
see
everyone.
you.
Good to see you
yeah,
all.
Yeah, just hand over your word. You can explain what the request and initiative.
Go ahead, Ward.
Sure. This is a request been working with Steve Levin on this for a while. It's a request to name the hill, the knoll at the west end of Bushwick Inlet Park soccer field in honor of Seamus Wood. Seamus was an 11-year-old kid from the neighborhood who died very suddenly about 3 years ago. He was very involved. He was a student at PS 84, very involved in athletics, GWYSL, FC Select, Little League. He was one of the Mustangs. So he was very involved in sports, spent a lot of his life active on the soccer field there at Bushwick Inlet Park. And Steve suggested a few years ago naming that knoll in his honor. His parents, Deb and Will, who are very good friends of mine, are very supportive of it. If anybody remembers NYC Bikes on Havemeyer Street, they were the longtime owners of that as well. And their daughter is a classmate of my son, so I've known them for many years. So this is just a small renaming request. I sent a letter that we have drafted. Number of community groups have already signed on to it. A lot of them are represented here. So North Brooklyn Parks Alliance, Friends of Bushwick Inlet Park, GWYSL, FC Select have all signed on. So the request really is to ask that the community board sign on. If we can put the letter on your letterhead, that would be great. The letter is to the Parks Commissioner. Steve Levin had a number of conversations with Parks over in, I guess, April, May or so. And they said, well, yeah, but, we'd really like to see community support for this. So we have gone out and asked for community support, and I'm asking for your support as well.
I read the letter. Steve
and I did have a slide. I don't know if I can put it up or Steve can put it up, but it's really, if you know Bushwick Inlet Park, it's that little hillock at the west end of the park, sort of overlooking the ball field on one side and the river on the other.
If you have it, you can put it up. But Ward, I think it's a great idea, Ward. I think it's so.
Thank you, Phil.
So appropriate.
Would you like me to read the letter, Phil? I have it.
Yeah, I'd like to. See, I thought it was wonderful. So go ahead.
Okay, thanks. All right. The Dear Commissioner Silver, the undersigned groups representing the Williamsburg and Greenpoint communities submit this letter in enthusiastic support of the renaming of the knoll at Bushwick Inlet Park in honor of Seamus Wood. Seamus's knoll would rename an interior feature of Bushwick Inlet Park in honor of a young child who died suddenly in 2018 at the age of 11. In his brief time with us, Seamus benefited greatly from the parks and open space of North Brooklyn. Seamus played in the Greenpoint Williamsburg Youth Soccer League, Football Club Select, and Williamsburg Little League. His athleticism took him to Bushwick Inlet Park, McCarran Park, Sternberg Park, and even the William Sheridan Playground at PS 84. In all of these venues, Seamus's athletic prowess was always on display, but so too was his spirit for play and his compassion for others. All the parks and playgrounds in North Brooklyn, Bushwick Inlet Park is where he spent more time than any other. Following his death in 2018, the Wood family and local residents began a tradition of holding Seamus's Field Day at Bushwick Inlet Park. Sadly, COVID canceled the 2020 version of Seamus's Field Day, but we all look forward to gathering again this year for an afternoon of fun and games in Bushwick Inlet Park. The knoll at the west end of the park overlooking the soccer field where Seamus excelled in life and where community gathers to remember him each year is a place of repose and reflection, the perfect location to honor Seamus's memory. Based on the strong, enthusiastic support of the community and local elected officials, and on Seamus Wood's strong affiliation with Bushwick Inlet Park during his life and beyond, we ask that you approve the renaming of this interior feature, Seamus's Knoll, in his honor. As you near your last days at the Arsenal, we'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you for your commitment to the city of New York over the past almost 7 years. Through programs such as the Open Parks Initiative, you've championed a more vibrant, open, inclusive park system that has benefited all New Yorkers. Wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and we thank you for your consideration of this request. Yours sincerely, Community Board 1 Brooklyn, North Brooklyn Parks Alliance, Friends of Bushwick Park, Greenpoint Williamsburg Youth Soccer League, FC Select, North Brooklyn Neighbors, and Williamsburg Little League. That's it.
I would like to make.
And embarrassingly, I forgot to mention North Brooklyn Neighbors, but
Wait,
Yes, yes,
Can
Jan.
you change the last one sentence in that letter, Steve? I think it would be after, you're talking to Silver, right?
Yeah.
You do remember that he has been the sole person that has stopped the women's swim, and he stood up, and blocked the women's swim. So we can you work it in a way that it's not saying he's so wonderful on everything? He's not. He didn't. You would have other people disagreeing with the letter there.
Jan, I will see what I can do. This letter was written a few weeks back, and I'm not sure when Silver is actually leaving, so this may be addressed to his interim replacement, in which case we would probably be less effusive at the end.
Yeah, I mean, he's done many good things. I understand
I'll take that as
the difficulty, but you have a whole group that spent 4 years. And believe me, Steve, I cannot believe that Steve Levin and Lenthal and Rabbi Niederman and the rest that all listened to him at other meetings. He was horrible. And I know many people like him and what good things he's done. He's been a Pratt guy. I know all that. But, just mitigate that a little bit. That's all I'm asking.
Well, the thing is, let's remember what.
Understood.
But Jan, let's remember what this letter is for. We want Mitchell Silver to approve this request. So
He's gonna approve it. It's not hard, Steve. I'm just saying, just do it down a little bit. Don't give him too much about that he did everybody. He didn't. Included, he was very anti-Semitic. It's not a good thing. But you can change that without hurting what you're trying to do, Steve.
Well, I have to defer to the authors.
That's all, one sentence in there. Do you have a quorum tonight?
I'll work on it.
It says is we got to vote on the essence of the letter. So
we can vote on the essence of the letter because we're short by
that's right.
of a quorum. But I regardless of what's going on now, I thought it was a wonderful idea. It should be about
it is a wonderful idea.
It should be about the idea, Jan, and not taking it to another level. We're trying to do something nice here. But
I know, but I don't think I'm hurting that intent, Phil.
Well, we're trying to do something nice for the young kid, for this kid.
Democracy. I know it's very hard for progressive people to have democracy. We could have different opinions and not be.
I know that, but
I don't need to be insulted because
Can I make a motion to approve the letter with a thought to modifying the intensity of the ending?
I'll second that.
I'll second. Ooh.
Okay.
Well, you have no quorum. You could do a consensus vote, but you have no quorum.
Consensus vote. I think I have 7 members available, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention. So we have a consensus. Thank you, Jerry.
And then Mary, did you vote? Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I got Mary down.
Okay.
Phil, could I ask Vinny a couple questions?
Yeah, good. I was going to ask Vinny if he has any updates.
Okay.
Or anybody could have an update with him now.
What's up, guys?
Yeah. Hey, Vinny, do you have any news on where the Motiva project is at? Is it still in design? Has it moved into procurement yet?
I do not have an update on that. The one property I can give you an update on tonight is phase 2 of LaGuardia Playground. The board got sent a letter today that it's going under on Monday. We have finally reached start, and we're going to have the fence up and breaking ground on Monday to get that completely redone. So I'm very excited about that.
Hey, Vinny, I saw that announcement, so that's great. Congratulations. I was curious, have you all talk to El Puente about that update?
I'm not sure if they were on the initial outreach. I can look into that though.
Okay, thank you.
Could you also ask about Motiva and see if there's any update about Motiva?
Yeah, I can definitely. I'll send an email once we get off chat. I'll send an email to our capital team and see if El Puente was consulted about LaGuardia and an update on Motiva for you. That's not a problem.
Annie, did you say when the Met Pool is going to open?
No, I did not. I did not. I asked and I was not given an answer yet.
And what are any indoor pools opening in the city?
There is definitely like a case by case basis of some recreation centers reopening. It's not wholesale yet. They're sort of coming online one at a time.
And just to see, that's why we're watching it closely, because we keep wondering how you're moving on Met Pool.
It's not me. It's not my decision. But yes, I hear you, and I made them aware of
There was a letter sent to the community board.
I know.
Response regarding Metropolitan Pool. I just want to make sure you saw that.
I didn't see the letter back, the response, no.
This was on Monday. As you're probably aware, on Monday, June 14th, the first phase. Do you want me to read it?
But
just say when. I think it's
but
more.
it's-
When
Well,
is the
it's
pool
not
going
gonna
to
say- it
open?
doesn't say when.
Yeah, that's the real issue. You know, and the feeling is people are really watching closely, and this goes to you, Steve, and others that were just getting a little worried about what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of concern that people are really not, they're trying to downgrade this pool and forget this women's swim, that the Met Pool in general, that they're running it into the ground by not programming properly, not using it properly, and opening it up, and people are not getting that. And now people need recreation, and water is one of the big things. So I'm just saying there's bigger issues besides just the women's swim that people are quite concerned about and have been for a while. So just want to put that down. And one small other gender issue, since I'm here, is that this is very small. We long time ago approved the Francis Hamburger Park by Lindsay. Do you remember that,
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Never does the Parks Department call it the Francis Hamburger Park. It's not the Hamburger Park. It's Francis Hamburger, and it was named that after, and probably Phil and I are the only two people on here that knew Francis Hamburger, right? But she was an outstanding leader for a long time, and we wanted to make sure that people saw that this woman that fought for this park and did all this work in Lindsay was honored, and then they keep taking the name away. So if we could just put in the minutes that we would appreciate if the Parks Department not only changed the sign, because we had to spend a year trying to get them to put the proper sign up, but that they would call it that. So
Definitely.
one step at a time for all of us.
Yeah, kind of bring up one more thing. Folks are probably aware, it was a horrible tragedy at Domino Park with that gentleman who he was, I guess, trying to retrieve a volleyball, and he fell into the river and drowned.
Wow.
But there was no portable flotation devices or anything like that available. So I'm just wondering if Parks Department consider installing those in the waterfront parks. To happen in North Brooklyn, like in Transmitter, Newtown Barge, etc. I know one at the end of Manhattan Avenue, the boat launch.
Do you
Steve,
think we should write a letter?
When did that happen, Steve?
For what I understand is that this man was playing volleyball.
Right.
And he went to try and, to catch a ball, and he went over the railing into the river. And I guess the currents are so strong and chaotic there that I don't know where he was sucked in, but he drowned. And I don't know if there were other extenuating circumstances.
Right.
I was made aware that, if I understand, but maybe Vinny can correct me, that there was no life-preserving equipment there that someone could have thrown into him, right? So.
Well, Domino's 100% out of our purview, but as far as life-saving apparatus, are you talking about like one of the red ice ladders? Are you talking about a ring? What are you thinking, Steve?
Well, ring initially comes to mind, just a flotation device is something that could be thrown to a person or someone could take into the water to help someone. I don't know if anything beyond that would, but that's what I've been thinking. At the end of Manhattan Avenue, the boat launch, they have a life preserver there with a rope. That might be appropriate. I don't know. I don't know if that would have made a difference with that domino, but it just came to mind.
But you know what, Steve? It's a great idea. This is the first time it's been brought up, but it's a good idea maybe to implement it into all these parks that are opening up along the waterfront now. And we should tell them this happened here. Why don't it's just something to add on?
Should explore it, then come back with us and tell us what they think needs to be done, because that's right. This is new things, more waterfront.
And we're opening up parks all along the waterfront. So
yeah, that's right.
Safety is the number one issue here. So guess what? Unmute, my friend. They got to unmute you, Ward.
Sorry.
There you go.
I thought I had unmuted. Since I'm here, I seem to remember that Hudson River Park has some kind of like flotation devices, throwable life sling kind of things. I know I've seen them in other parks, particularly on the Esplanade, where you have like the railings and you have that hard edge where people can go over.
Yeah, and I think from what I understand from the news, that like Hudson River Park, it's like the pier structure too, so where he like went under it and couldn't hold on, or so not to say not to have it at like Bushwick Inlet Park where there's the step down, right? But that would be much more difficult than if you're further out in a pier situation and get under this structure. I think it's a great idea.
It's a good safety item. So I think it's good to add on. Yes, Kevin. Go ahead.
Thanks. Vinny, I know last time, just because this is the last parks meeting before the summer, last time, or the last two meetings, I brought up the cone triangle down at Division in Bedford that had been locked, that little triangle green space that had been locked out all of COVID and continued to be locked. And Mary said there was, that y'all would be working to get an update on that, what the deal with that was, or whether it could be opened. Do you have any update on that, Vinny?
Yeah. Sorry, I think that kind of got lost in the shuffle when it switched over from me to Mary as the primary. I had mentioned after conferring with the staff that it was beginning to be locked because of a strict amount of dog overuse in the area that was affecting the parcel. But we're going to open it on a trial basis and see, if you're telling me it's still not open, then I'll get that lock clip for you. But
okay,
I had given it.
I've not been down there probably since in a couple weeks, but yeah.
You've got Kevin. I think you've got my email. Just follow up with me. If it's still locked, I'll get it clipped for you this week.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Vinny.
Okay, everybody, we good? Thank you very much. Great meeting, everybody. Ward, nice to see you, pal.
Bill, thank you so much. Good to see everybody.
Let me just say this. I hope this is our last meeting like this. I hope next time we meet, we're together again.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful thing.
It would be. Every other would. Stay safe.